ladies and gentlemen, we've got quite the situation brewing up in Honkai Star Rail. It's no lie at all to say that this game has been on one of the biggest downward tracks I've ever seen for a gacha title ever since the big 2025 started, because they started off with something nuclear. Amphorius version 3.0, one of the worst story experiences the game space, the gacha space, has ever seen. And it seemed like the game has only progressively been getting worse from there, because my gosh, global passives, caster ricey, shilling in the MOC, rampant power creep, it's been everything when it comes to this title. But now, with the version 3.4 special edition developer radio, it appears that they might actually be dialing it back a little bit. They might actually have the survival of this game as a priority, not just something that they're putting on the back burner. So with that, there's a lot of great stuff, and I'm not even lying, actually great stuff in this update. I've had a bit of a sneak peek. Let's go ahead and walk through it ourselves. So with that, a brand new volume of the developer radio is here. Come check out. Yep, that's what we're doing right now. So the first things first that they're gonna have is starting in version 3.4, and finally, thank God, about, is it 6-7 months since the announcement, the characters that they said were going to be buffed at the start of version 3.0. The buffs are finally happening. We got Silver, Wolfie, Belady, Kafki, and Jing Li will have an enhanced mode enabled by default. And this is just an example of the types of changes that are going to be available. Silver Wolf's ultimate and skill are updated. Her ultimate is now an AoE attack, and her skill is no longer RNG for the type of weakness and plant that it's going to give. It's going to be based off the first ally in your lineup. And there's pretty much absolutely no reason at all, in my opinion, for you to not use these buffed kits, but they're going to have an enhanced mode that can be turned on or off, that can let you toggle between those two abilities. And then once the special program starts, they're going to make sure to actually show all the details about those enhancements. So that's something that's finally occurring after a very, very long wait. I'm just going to be honest, this should have happened about 3 updates ago. This should have happened in version 3.1. They announced the buffs in 3.0. It should have happened in 3.1. A lag time of about 6 months to follow through on a promise that you made to the player base. A lag time of 6 months is absolutely ridiculous, if we're going to be honest. So hopefully, when they do have their next set of buffs, because they need another set of buffs for these characters for them, you know, think about all the other 1.0 units that suck the cock right now. They're gonna actually have to do those sooner. So with that, those are gonna be the character buffs. A great thing for us to have to kind of tee off the experience. And now we got the real elephant in the room. The real hype moment. The thing that players, so many players that have quit the game, so many players that have not been able to enjoy very much of 2.6, 2.7, or 3.0. They've added the skip button, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about it a little bit more. Starting in version 3.4, 2 new features will be added. Skip dialogue and story summary. Version 3.6 will further introduce the story recap feature. So, great thing announced right off the bat. Unfortunately, it's going to take another 2 updates. That's about 100 days from now, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be, June's going to be over, July, September. We're going to probably be seeing this sometime in September or October. Maybe even November, the story recap feature. Not really sure what that's going to be, but yeah, expect it by the time snow starts falling around your area, or, you know, autumn is just coming to a close. So yeah, it's just always something when it comes to this company. They make billions of dollars, but they have the feature implementation time of somebody that makes about 2% of that. So that's going to be the monkey's paw curling when it comes to some of the good changes. So let's just go ahead and dive into what some more of the good changes actually are. So the skip dialogue and story summary. Version 3.4 will introduce both of these features. Story conversations with dialogue skip will be broken into segments, so you can just skip by the paragraph. So this isn't like a holistic skip button where you can just, you know, be feeling like you're trapped in like mental bondage within like a 5-minute dialogue. You just want to get through it. You'll probably have it shortened to maybe about like a minute to 30 seconds, something like that. Maybe depending on how fast you can click. Somebody's probably going to come out with like a macro for the game, and that would maybe get you the experience of a skip button that you have in maybe like a Genshin Impact. So that's something that's going to be great. That's something that's really going to streamline the experience, and something that is probably going to get a lot of players actually coming back to actually play the story. Because I'm going to be honest here, I can't imagine the number of accounts that were required. Hoyoverse has data on the back end, right? There are probably millions of accounts that are in the middle of version 3.0 or in the middle of version 3.1, the story quest, and they've just been stuck there for the past half of a year. I'm 99% sure they have plenty of data showing that, and the devs have probably realized, damn, this shit is unfucking playable. And so we might as well just cut our losses here and get people to actually come back to the game and, you know, get all those jades and just move on, because nobody actually wants to play this fucking thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's awesome that they're adding it. It's just the amount of negative PR, the amount of negative feedback, the amount of negativity that was required in the first place for a feature that should have been in the game since release to actually arrive is insane. Because now the narrative is unfortunately going to be Hoyoverse just makes completely dog shit stories that are literally making people quit the game, and that's why they added a skip button. Versus a Wuthering Waves sort of situation where the skip button is only used very sparingly, and it might as well not exist for the game's main story quests. I don't know a single soul, unless they're like a complete degenerate, that skipped version 2.2 or version 2.4 of the Wuthering Waves story. Because that story is so good, it's so high quality, it's so engaging, that you don't even want to skip. And in Honkai Star Rail, the story is so bad, so disengaging, and so boring that people are begging for the skip button. That's the difference between the two. And unfortunately, this is going to be the situation now. Honkai Star Rail has built up a reputation as a needlessly verbose, dog shit story experience that you're supposed to auto-skip. Think about the reputation certain games have. Think about the early chapters of Punishing Grey Raven. Everyone tells you, skip until like chapter 7, skip until chapter 9. That's like tens of hours of story. They're just telling you, skip all of it. Because the story is dog shit, it only gets good later on. And now the reputation for this game is going to be, skip all of Amphorius, skip all of Penacony, it's all a complete waste of time. And the developers will have to do so much work on the story building and the story experience as a whole to shed away that negative reputation. But unfortunately, it's gonna be really, really hard for that to happen, because now that people have this skip button, they're just gonna keep using it, because that reputation of a dog shit story has already been established. But that's the thing. That's what players need at this point, because they made the game so bad that nobody actually wants to play it. And like I said before, millions of accounts in the middle of 3.0 and 3.1. Yeah, I don't think even half of the player base has gotten to version 3.2. God forbid 3.3. So yeah, that's going to be the feature. Those are my thoughts on it. Let's keep moving on. Now we got the story summary. When skipping, you'll see a summary of key events and major characters that appeared in the skip segment. Yeah, this is basically just what's going on in Wuthering Waves. I think it's a great sort of compromise that people can make where they can still keep up generally with what's going on. It's like they're reading the synopsis or the summary instead of watching the whole 10-minute dialogue. And frankly, the funny thing is that they'll probably be able to condense that entire 10-minute dialogue into a one-sentence paragraph, and players will basically not even lose anything from the overall experience. That's how unnecessary so much of the yapping, so much of the talking is in these quests. This is the type of content I'm planning moving forward. I'm just going to skip all of Amphorius, write down some notes from the summaries, get my recollection of the quest, and see how accurate it actually is to what actually unfolded in the story. And if it's like 98, 95, 85% accurate, then yeah, what a fucking waste of time, brother. Holy shit, what an absolute waste of time. And yeah, that's something that I want to do. That's something that I want to see. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's keep moving forward and see what else they got going on over here. The dialogue skip feature will apply to dialogues in Trailblaze missions, Trailblaze continuances, companion missions, and adventure missions. I'm hoping the adventure missions are the ones in blue. I'm praying to God they're the ones in blue, because oh my god, there are so many that I haven't done, because yeah, you can't skip any of those. They're completely unvoiced, and they're kind of just about boring ass NPCs that you're gonna see once, and there are so many of them that you don't care about any of the NPCs at all. So yeah, that's gonna be a lot of great places to use all of these. I don't even think they do companion missions anymore because they force them into the main story so that you spend more time on it to actually get it done. That's why Amphoria's quests are like 10 hours. So yeah, I guess I don't even know why they put companion missions in here. They don't exist anymore. So now let's go ahead. Let's move on forward. In version 3.4, the story summary will be available for the worlds of Amphorius, Jarillo 5, 6, and Herta Space Station. The rest will be added in version 3.6. Oh, I guess they don't want people skipping the Zhanzhou Luofu. Or they realized, oh my gosh, the Zhanzhou Luofu is a fucking disaster. The summary sounds like shit. Nothing actually happened. We gotta find some way to make it not look like ass. Anyways, so in version 3.6, they're now gonna have the new story recap feature. Trailblazers can choose to re-experience completed Trailblaze missions, Trailblaze continuances, and companion missions. They can freely choose if they wish to view specific cutscenes or cinematics. Okay, that's nice. That's actually something good now that I think about it. It seems like if you went ahead and you skipped everything, and for some godforsaken reason, you decide that you want to actually go through the story, it seems like you'll be given the option to do that, I guess. So this might work well with this whole idea that they'll improve the story after completely tanking it in Panicani and Amphorius, and when people skip the new and improved story in the newer and future regions, then maybe they'll have like some level of regret when they see like all the streamers and the CCs actually enjoying the update and like the story actually seems like it's good and it's improved, and so they'll be able to go back and actually re-experience it without skipping and, you know, actually see the value of the story. So I think that this is a good feature, especially if they do actually improve the storytelling and make it better. But if they do keep it complete dog shit and complete garbage, basically what it is right now, then this feature is not going to be used. So we'll see if it's a waste of dead time or not. Additionally, Story Recap will also allow for you to experience different dialogue choices or have the dialogue options to be freely chosen, thus making the recap experience even smoother. However, the story combat and exploration experience cannot be rewound. I don't think anyone wants to do those anyways. For more details, please pay attention to future announcements. Okay, why don't you just add it now? Yeah, you're a billion-dollar company. Surely you'll be able to just add a button to be able to replay the fucking dialogues and cinematics. Yeah, maybe they don't have the budget for that team. All right. Now, new companion, Scholar Wubby. Nobody cares. All right, this is just going to help you. All right, guide makers, looks like you're in shambles. Mr. Pokey, I guess it's time to put in the retirement notice. Yeah, it appears that Scholar Wubby is going to be here to help all of you build your units and build your characters. Maybe it'll be like the guide depot that currently exists in Wuthering Waves. But I'm going to be honest, Kuro did a pretty shit job with curating whatever's in the guide depot over here because, I mean, I'll just pull up the example that I always like pulling up. I actually heard there's a pretty funny thing for Chakona over here. Yeah, apparently the sub DPS with no healing in their kit, Chakona, is supposed to have over a 22% healing bonus and 230% ER. So, yeah, clearly Wuthering Waves has a pretty dog shit guide depot that is making sure that every single guide maker CC for the game is still employed. We'll just have to 45k HP, holy shit. So yeah, we'll just have to see if Honkai Star Rail has a similar level of quality in their guides, because a lot of these are completely unusable for the average Wu-Wah player. Not even the average, for every single Wu-Wah player. And if Honkai Star Rail ends up doing the same thing, then yes, I will retract those words. Looks like Mr. Pokey is still gonna have that lifeline. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a little bit rough, boys, especially with all that pre-release stuff going on. I think it's just surprising that they've decided to like streamline so much of like the character building and like the guide making, especially with all of, like the early access partnerships that they have with like so many CCs to like sustain their channel and stuff like that. I feel like some people are not going to be happy about this one, but we'll just have to see how powerful and how strong Wubby is. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be the update. Now it's time for us to take a look at something that a lot of people have said is really, really, really interesting. And that's the comments. Because apparently, some people in the Honkai Star Rail community, the ones that have an IQ below 70, aren't very happy with some of the changes that we just covered. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's read these 900... look at this. This only has about 359 stars, 2,700 likes, and about 977 comments. That's a lot. Maybe there's a lot of engagement going on over here. Bad takes, misunderstanding, and misinformation about 3.4. So basically, what they're saying over here is that the story skip button is going to be bad because everyone's going to have bad takes. They're not going to understand anything, and there's going to be misinformation. Yeah, otherwise, unless you're forced to experience a whole 10-hour story. There's nothing you're going to absorb from it. That's why they're going to have the story summary, so you can still understand the gist of what's going on. And typically that's enough. Yeah, you ever been in like an English literature class, and instead of reading the book before taking the test, you read the Spark Notes and you still get a good score? Yeah, because sometimes it's not actually necessary to read every single fucking line to understand what's going on. Though, for people that are mentally retarded, they might have to do the latter. So, yeah, I mean, this is really just a shocking lack of display of intelligence, and perhaps just proof that they've never actually been in school, because, no, you don't have to experience a full 10-hour story to understand the general summary of it. You might miss the finer details, but finer details aren't really something that people like this are factoring in their head anyways. Let's move on. More incoming story skippers who think they know the story. Well, this is what you'll be able to do now, story unskippers, is if you think somebody skipped too much and they're not understanding because of it, well, you can just tell them what the correct stuff is and then just go make fun of them. Yeah. And this is the thing, right? This will mean that plenty of other people are deciding to actually play the fucking game now, because this game has lost so many players, it's unbelievable, because the story can't be skipped, because it's bad. TikTok rotted brains are rejoicing for a skip button in an RPG. Pretty much every RPG that's like a AAA title with amazing story has a skip button. Hoyoverse is just on the like opposite end of the spectrum, where Honkai Star Rail is basically like a single A, double A game with a dog shit story that doesn't have a skip button. Let's be honest here. That's what 3.0 is. Have you seen what the character NPCs look like? They have like two shades. Fucking claymation looking NPCs. Dog shit visuals in the background. Awful environment design that looks like it's from a PS2 game in 2025. And the worst storyboarding, the worst story writing the space has seen in over a decade. And you're saying that people should have to experience that whole thing? That's why everybody quit the fucking game, brother. What else we got over here? A skippable dialogue, huge W. Thanks. Oh my gosh, we have somebody that isn't retarded. Thank the Lord. You know who loves the skip button most? Mythos. Beware of their followers' misinformation.
Look at me, I know the lore. I'm so clever.
Fucking nerd. Alright, super duper hot take. Regardless if they added a skip button or not, people who had been skipping will skip anyways. Why do you guys think they will magically sit down for the story when they've been skipping for so many patches? That thought never seemed to enter these individuals' heads. A skip button shouldn't have ever been controversial. Misunderstanding and argument over story happen even without a skip button. Adding one actually makes zero difference. Yeah, you wanna know what most people actually playing the Honkai Star Rail story do? They're not even looking at the screen. You know what they have on the side? They have like anime, Netflix. They have something open on their second monitor and they're just clicking as fast as they fucking can through the story. Because it's so ass. It's so bad. It's so unbelievable. They don't actually want to play it. Their attention is focused elsewhere while they train their index finger. That's the reality of the game. And I'm sure Hoyoverse has data on it well. How long are people spending? Oh, they're closing every dialogue the second it opens? Gosh, I guess our players must be fast readers. I think they realize nobody's actually reading it. So yeah, that's that. Those are all the comments. I'm glad that there are a couple nuggets of wisdom in here. But unfortunately, it does seem to be that the top comments within this community are dominated by absolute idiots. But the thing is, what can you expect when the game has had unskippable garbage story for about 5 updates in a row that nobody has played, that has caused numerous people to quit the game? Who do you think is going to be left? To me, this is just the ZZZ TV situation, where you had an absolutely cancerous mechanic like TVs in the game for about 3 months. Everybody quit the game because the TVs were so bad, and the only people left are fucking idiots. And the thing with Honkai Star Rail is, you've had an unforgivably bad story for about, let's just be honest here, 5 fucking versions, and the only people that are left in the game are fucking idiots. So it's kind of like it's a very self-explanatory, reasonable, easy to understand issue, in that the remaining players are a special breed of stupid. And that means that the dominating sort of feedback that you're going to have in the community, because all the voices of reason have already left months ago, is dumb shit like this. So yeah, that'll be that. Let me know what you all think, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.